Welcome to part 2 of EX02, and the first thing we'll do to make a chart is we'll go A2 all the way over to D12. So we're doing this little section here, this box, and what we're going to do is we're going to insert a chart. So we're going to go to Insert, and we're not going to do a column chart, we're going to do a line chart. We're going to do the ones with the little dots here. So I'm going to do line with markers is the one that I'm going to use. Now you can see the colors look off because it has the blue on top and red on the bottom, but we'll fix that. Okay, so I'll do that first, and there's our chart. And for chart title, I'll click on here, and I can just go up here, and I'll just put, temp, and I could put F because that's kind of what they had on there. Or you could use 10-day temperatures or something like that. But just temp F is fine. Now you could see I didn't originally want to use the day on here because it kind of it makes them hard to fit in here. Now you could make the chart bigger to do that. Or another thing you could do, you could actually go in here. Now this would just be some extra work. If you went in and abbreviated all of these things in here after doing this series, now it doesn't have a way to do that automatically. Now my chart looks a lot better when I look at this. Now those dates kind of fit in there a little better, and I think it's nicer to know what. If I was looking at the temps, not everybody knows what the date is, but you might say, oh, today's Saturday. So I think that looks a lot nicer, and that wasn't very hard to do. Now a couple things we have to do here is we don't want the blue on top and red on the bottom, and now we're not going to flop them, but we just want to change the colors. Now to do this, we're going to click on our chart, so our chart is selected, and use this little plus sign. And this is where your chart elements come up. Now in the Mac version, just be aware they don't have this thing. You have to go up on your ribbon and look for chart elements to do it. But we're going to put, what we're going to put on here is going to be data labels. So we're going to use data labels first. We're going to choose data labels. Now when they do data labels, it puts the lows above the line, and it would look a lot better if they were below the line. Well, how do you fix that? Well, if you go here and click on this line and go to data labels, and click on this little extra thing, if you select just that line, you could go to below and move them. So if you just isolate that line, select it, go to data labels, and go to the little extra options here and check below, it puts them below there. Now if you also want to change the color of that, you can double click on this thing, and it should open this format pane over here. And what we're going to do, now it's a little tricky, I'm going to click on this again and make sure I get the line on here. And what I'm going to do is go over to this area over here, and this, I need to put this away here. And over here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the colors here, and it has line, the color of the line. It's saying now it's not showing solid lines, so it must be some weird kind of gradient or something. But anyway, I'm not going to change the line. What I'm going to do is I see where the color's red. I'm just going to change this color to be blue. I'll just change a blue down here, and it made the blue color. Now there's also these things here, the marker. If you click on the marker and you click on the fill, they're also showing them as red, so I'm going to change them as blue. That's a little tricky to find, but it's there. You just have to look in this little format area over here. So that was changing the lows, and notice it did change this thing too. And there's actually, it looks like there's a little border on the marker. This is kind of odd, but there's actually if you go to the marker, there's actually a border on the marker that's red, which I'm gonna have to change to blue. And now it's fixed. But who would have known that these little circles have their own little fill and their own little border on it? But that's what I had to change. So now when I go back to this one, I'm going to go back to this one where I have the highs, and I want to make this one, I'll go back to the line first, and I want to make it red. I'll just use a standard red down here. And now that's the line. Now I have to go to marker. Down at this thing, I want to make sure this thing is also red. I want to make sure the markers are red. And then there's also the border of the marker, they call it, is also blue. I'm going to make that. So there's a border on the marker. So there's, just to review, there's a line, and then there's the marker, which has a fill and a border on it. So, just a couple little things to deal with there. It's a little more work than you expected just for changing that color, but that's the way you want it. And that if you wanted them white, like the sample, you could do that. Now, another thing you could do here not even do yet. It's just kind of a basic basic white background. If we wanted to put a border on the chart, notice I clicked on the edge of the chart. I could go to border, and I'm going to put a solid line border, and I'm going to go down. I'll scroll down here, and I'll make it a rounded corner because I thought that looked nice. And the color, maybe I'll make it blue or something. And I'll make it a little bit thicker. They have width here, so I'll just kind of click it up a couple times. You could do gray or whatever, and that looks fine. So that's just blue right now. And if I wanted to do it, I'll just go back to Chrome a second, and you can see they actually have like a pink to whitish to yellowish to whitish to blue, or kind of a pink to yellow to blue kind of gradient going on. If you wanted to do something like that, we could go back here and do it. It's not that hard to do. That's just the fill. And remember, if you do the fill for the chart, this is chart, and you go gradient, that's called a gradient fill. Now, right off the bat, it does kind of a gradient with some different colors here. If you don't like the little arrows that are here, just drag them down and get rid of them. And I think I said it started with pink, so this first one I'll make pink. And there's color, and I'll just go with a real pale kind of, you could even go to more colors. And if you wanted it like a pink color, you could see that you could use that little slider there. You could just go to a real pale kind of red color. You could start with that and kind of make it real light and hit OK. Now that's the pink color. And then if you wanted a middle color here, you could click right on here, and then you could change this and use this paint bucket. And I'm going to use a real pale yellow color, and I'll just use that one, which is fine. And then the blue is actually what I wanted anyway. If you wanted to change that and do it green or anything, let's say you wanted a pale green, you could go on this thing and go to more colors and kind of, I guess, slide this thing down if you wanted to do like a pale green. There's kind of a pale green color, and that looks fine. If you wanted to go back and make, let's say you wanted to make this text bold, if you click on this box, you could just go to the Home tab, and you could hit bold, and that makes that a little bit easier to read. If you wanted to make this thing up here bold, if you wanted to make it a different font, if you wanted to make a, you know, like Arial black, like a real heavy font or something, you could do that. So you could customize this any way you want, and that's basically it. Remember, you can move this around. I'm going to grab it by the edge to move it. You could scale it. You know, and there are different kind of like themes and stuff that you could use for the colors, but I wanted you to, you know, you could do all this, but then it puts that blue color back. So we don't want to do that. We want to kind of leave it the, you know, we want to learn how to customize ourselves using this format chart area. It takes a little getting used to over there, so it'll take a little time to get familiar with it. Put in your own colors. You know, again, let's say you went on this chart and you wanted white in there. You could go here and just click on here and add a white color. Maybe you want it. Maybe it's a little too. And you could kind of put a white there, and then I could go in between here, and I'll put another white. And that way it goes kind of pink to white to kind of this yellow color, and that kind of looks nice. So that's really it. So I want to make sure, now I didn't save this yet, so what I want to save it as, I'm going to save as EX02. I think we're going to do this as EX02, and we'll just call it temps, which is fine, and I'll put my last name, whatever your last name first initial is, and that's all you have to do. And you're just going to save it, and you're going to upload it. This is the file that you're going to upload. I'll close off my format shape, and this is the file you're going to upload.